Hi, I'm Tijana,
And I'm Rusudan.
and today we are in my home country of Montenegro, and two of us today will be discussing what is it like to live in one of the Eastern European countries. So, how was your flight, Rusudan?
It was really nice. Kind of rather quick, I would say. I flew through Istanbul, right directly to Tibet. And I think that it was my first time in Tibet, and the airport is small, but it's good because you get through the customs and everything really fast. But I did find a surprising small fun fact about Montenegro is that you can only take a couple of bottles of wine. And from Georgia, I always travel with some bottles to give away.
Oh, did you
Georgian
bring me?
wine.
Did you bring me some Georgian wine?
Yes, yes, of course.
Okay.
And I think that, and there was like they told me that there's only a couple of bottles of wine that you can bring, which I found interesting. Next time I have to double check in every country what's the maximum bottles of alcohol that they take. But it was nice. It was quick. It's really close to the city, so it was like a 12-minute drive, not even that. So,
Yeah, it's a tiny place, so
and
it's
this
easy
is
to get
amazing.
around. How do you like the views?
Oh, amazing! It's so pretty. I feel like it's worth flying here, and I definitely want to come back for vacation also. So we'll see.
And did you imagine you're going to have this much sun in November?
Oh, definitely not. I think that, like, I knew it would be like sunny like that, but it's actually warm.
Yeah,
As long
it's
as
really
it's
warm.
sunny, it's really warm. So amazing weather.
In the evenings, it does get a little bit colder, but
Yeah.
the weather does get beautiful. So this is your first time in Montenegro, and I visited Georgia before.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be great to talk about some differences. Both are Eastern European countries,
True.
but I think we do have quite a lot of different things. Like you flew into the Tibet airport, which is, some would say, like a bus station tiny. But we do have two airports, and the connectivity is not as good. So you do have to go through Istanbul. But with
Yeah.
Georgia, there was a little bit more opportunity. Would that be right?
Yeah, I think that so. Georgia is not also a big country, and we do have like Tbilisi Airport, then you have Kutaisi Airport and Batumi Airport. Like it's, I think, like I would say that Batumi and Kutaisi are like smaller than Tbilisi, of course, but you have more connectivity, and we're like working. Even now, they just now started the UK direct flights to London, for example. But at the same time, we still go through Istanbul a lot for connectivity, and like it's always like always a thing where people are like, do we need to have more direct flight? But like when you have Istanbul so close to Tbilisi, it's like not a lot of the companies, they don't want to fly direct, or it's like costly. So
Yeah, the competition is high.
Yeah.
No, that's true. And Istanbul is definitely the place where, like what they like to say, is where the world meets,
true.
because it is the most connected airport. So for us here, we do have a lot of low-cost fare flights that connect you, but when it's off season, it does get a little bit difficult, which
Yeah.
we are in at the moment. So
Yeah.
there aren't too many opportunities. But okay, you're in Tivat, so the seaside, which usually people like to be in. This is the more luxurious, let's say, part where you have all your yachts, you have very nice
Yeah, I
properties
see.
around, and our real estate market did get a little bit more expensive than it used to a couple of years ago. But people are still interested in purchasing here.
Yeah. Is
I-
it because of like the seasonal rentals that it got more expensive?
One of the reasons, yes. And as you know, a few years back, we used to have our citizenship by investment program.
Right.
So that did attract a lot of people. And I think it did drive the prices a little bit higher. And then, of course, your rentals are very expensive. Over the last few years with the inflation and all the changes on this geopolitical scene, they did lead to it. And things are shifting and moving quite quickly over here in the Balkan region, but especially Montenegro. I know Georgia's real estate market
yeah.
is a little bit different than here.
It is a little bit different, and I think that the difference comes from I think that Georgia really, as you know, opened up to like foreign investment and everything, and real estate market was one of that things. And then you have like the geopolitical situation, and that's why in the last few years our real estate market really, the prices went really high up. And as you know, it like seldomly comes down. So it's like even if the geopolitical situation changes, I don't think that it will change that much and like reduce the price. But you do have like the rentals are really high and nice. So I guess it's the fate of all these like small economies
Yes.
of our countries, where you kind of depend on what's happening outside, and even the small slight change really changes the political situation or economical situation a lot. So it's very taking effect really quickly, and maybe not under the people's control as much as we would like.
Agreed on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the cost of living as well.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
for those who are coming from the Western countries,
Yeah.
I think our countries are very affordable.
Oh, yeah.
And everything is quite accessible, lower prices of daily activities, groceries. Some people are very surprised actually when they
True.
come in and see what the prices are.
Yeah.
And I think that is what kind of does attract people to come in.
True.
So yeah.
Yeah, and also like I always say, even when we have like some clients come to Tbilisi and visit us and just want to see and check out the place in person, I always tell them that if you have, you don't necessarily need to be a high net worth individual. Like with ordinary Western income, if you live in countries like Montenegro or Georgia, you get to have like a better quality of life compared to if you stay in the Western part of the world, because you have a higher income, and the cost of living in, like, even though it can, like, maybe we feel like it's increased in the last few years, if you're a foreigner and you have like fixed income, you don't necessarily feel it, because compared to your home country, our cost of living is really like not that high. Even with all the rentals going up and everything, you still get to enjoy a comfortable, better than comfortable life.
I agree, and digital nomad visas have opened so many doors to people to actually go and explore and see where they want to be. So Montenegro does have their own digital nomad visa as well as an option, but I know Georgia is a little bit more accessible.
True.
When it comes to the time spent for the foreigners.
Yeah, it's like, so as you know, in Georgia we have, like, we really welcome foreigners in like business perspective. If you are a freelancer or an entrepreneur or something, there are some very good tax opportunities as well, and the tax residency and just spending the time, it's like 183 days, and if you get if you incorporate a company, you can get residency through that. You don't even need to spend that much time, and also you can become an entrepreneur, become a taxpayer there. I think that Georgia is very open to freelancers. There's a 1%, you can get a micro taxpayer status. Like, there are a couple of activities that are not allowed under this status, but everything else, if you're a freelance worker, you can pay just 1% on your income, and you can live in Georgia. You can get a tax residency through that, and you can just reside. So you can have like a work remotely with everybody outside of Georgia, and then you get to have like the income that's really like better than average Georgian income, but you have like the expense level of Georgia, which is really nice, and like 1% tax, it's pretty much nothing.
Yes.
So I do think that it's very attractive to a lot
so you
of
mean
foreigners.
the entire freelance income would be taxed at 1%? Or does it work with, if they're employed by somewhere else, it would be considered outside of Georgia? Is that how you would classify it?
So what they do is, as long as you are considered a freelance worker, and the activity you have to declare that I'm going to be doing like marketing or research or something, you tell them in what activity you want to get this tax status, and then in that activity, and you can get more than one, in that activity you're going to be paying all the 1% tax on the income. And if you have like, maybe you're doing something that's like some like accounting work or something, accounting and the audit and professional like architecture services are not allowed under this tax status. So it means that if you have like two types of income, one of them will be taxed at 1% and one of them will be taxed at 20%. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to pay 20% all on the whole income, even if like one activity is taxed at 20%. So I do think that, and even the reporting, it's like you can get a accountant to do it really quickly. You can do it yourself, because we have a e-portal, and it can be translated into Georgian. Like, I cannot fully guarantee that every last page is translated, but you can you can check it out. And I think that it's, even if it's in Georgian, it's very simple. Like, you just do it monthly and that's it. I think that Georgia is trying very hard to be attractive to foreigners, and that's why we make those, like, even the registration, like we have our like experience through our clients too, where it's so easy to go. It's one-stop shop. You go, you can establish a company, you can get any like a taxpayer status, anything in literally one day. You can get it in a few days, but if you want to fast track it, you just pay a bit more, which is still nothing
Yes.
compared to some other incorporation costs that we've seen around the world. So it's really accessible and affordable for sure.
Yes, the efficiency and speed of getting things done is what I really appreciate about Georgia.
True.
Because, in Eastern Europe, we're not very much well known as efficient people and getting things done quickly. We like to take our time. We like to sip our coffee in the morning and spend hours talking. So it's a lot different than the, let's say, Western world or even the Eastern world, because they're also very fast paced. They like to get things done because that is a big difference. And when I tell clients that I'm from Montenegro, I usually get two things: either, oh, what is it? or oh my God, it's so beautiful, I want to live there. Yeah. And then usually what I like to do, of course, is dive into it a little bit deeper and be like, so there are things that you might absolutely love about this place, or there are some things that you're going to miss, because coming from the Western world, people get used to some things,
True.
I usually like to say, do you love your Amazon delivery? Do you like your next day shipping? Because in Montenegro, that's not going to be the case. Because with the customs and the borders between the EU and Montenegro, because we are the candidate just like you, but we're not there yet. So it gets a little bit difficult. If you want to order something, it could get stuck in the customs for 15, 20 days, or it can arrive after 5. So it's always a game, essentially,
And that's a very good small detail that you don't necessarily think about when you live in the West. It's comes so naturally that you're gonna have it delivered the next day or in a couple of days. And it's the same in Georgia. It's not that easy to deliver things. We do have Amazon and everything, but it takes 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something like that. So I think that I have some people who I know I met some of our clients who it's so necessary for them or so easy that they don't necessarily want to kind of compromise on that. But maybe when you think about it's efficient, it's cheap, so maybe it makes sense for me to be okay, plan ahead what will I need in 3 weeks and order it now, or maybe not. So
yes. People travel to places, and obviously Montenegro is so beautiful when you come and visit for a vacation, but when you actually want to make that decision to move somewhere, it's always good to actually test it out that way. What I usually tell them is have you seen how nearby the grocery store is? Are there things that you like? Sure. Do you like organic markets? If you like organic markets, this is the perfect place for you. The food is amazing. The cuisine is amazing. There's a lot of different possibilities. And the country is so tiny that in one day you can drive from the northest to the southest part of the country. You can go swimming and go to the mountains in the same day.
Yeah, I think that's especially if you're coming from Canada or US, where it's the country is so huge, you cannot comprehend doing everything in one day. And I know a lot of people who appreciate that and feel okay, that's interesting, that's something new that I can try. And you made a very good point about just traveling and living there for a couple of weeks, maybe 10 days, 2 weeks or something, and not feeling you're visiting, not staying at a hotel, but maybe staying at an Airbnb.
Exactly.
And going out and trying to see what's the grocery shopping like, because there are some small nuances. It's Georgia, we are moving forward to recycling and everything, but it's not so common that it's the same in other Western countries, and maybe some people find it difficult, odd, yes, odd.
What do you mean I don't recycle?
I think that the groceries and everything, it's so normal for us to have it organic. We don't I know that people coming from the west part of the world visiting Georgia, they really appreciate going to the markets and seeing how many different products they can get and how organic it is. And I think it's for sure the same for Montenegro. It's comes so naturally for us. We're not that westernized yet to have lost it. So we'll see how we do in the next few years, both Montenegro and Georgia in that regard. But for now, it's definitely very affordable and accessible to get good food. And the prices are not that high, I would say.
I would definitely agree with this. And local produce here is still big, but it has reduced a lot over the years. So I do feel our countries, the Eastern Europe, I would say, is moving a little bit towards that direction, but we're not there yet. It's probably going to take quite a lot of time for now, but I would say that is the biggest beauty of it. You're coming in, you have your seasonal produce. You don't even have some things like, I remember back in the US, you can have strawberries at any time of the year. You can have tomatoes any time of the year. It's like, that's not how it is here. I think it's the same for Georgia, right?
Yeah, it is. Like there is a couple of like grocery shops that have like strawberries all year around, but you know that it's like imported and it's like maybe not organic, of course. So it's priced on a different level. But you, like we always say in Georgia, like my mom says that it's as long as you get the seasonal fruits and veggies, like that's what I would say that it's the same for Balkan countries too. So as long as you get that's totally what you need. So if you want to, you can have like strawberries in December, but maybe you know that it's not going to be
It's probably not good for you.
If it's seasonal, it's going to be organic for sure from the villages close to the city of Tbilisi. So
yes. And farmer markets are still a big thing.
Yes.
Because you can find a farmer's market everywhere in every corner. And here in Tivat, especially in the seaside during the season, what you will actually see during the summer is there will be trucks parked next to the street and they're selling watermelons, different fruits, and you can just stop by, get something, park the car and drive off. And I think that's a bit of a cute thing, you know, in a sense, when it comes to visiting these places, because you know it's organic and it can be fun.
We have the same thing. We also have like sometimes there's like some farmer that drives the car and comes to certain like neighborhoods, and people know there that during this day this person is going to come and bring all this like veggies and fruits and everything, and you kind of like that. At the same time, I do think that for some Western people, like it's cute for a couple of weeks maybe or a month, and then you have to really think like, is that like the lifestyle?
Exactly.
Is it what I want? Is it something that I can work with? Like the same way when you have a family, like is it enough if you get that like only once a week or
And it's like when you have a family, just like you said, like you come for a few weeks and you're so happy, you're thrilled, there's something new, there's something different as well, and then you think about it and your kids are like, well, I want to have my extracurricular activities. Am I going to be able to play hockey, or am I going to be able to play American football, or anything that might not be available, because we have different things, right? American football is not a thing. Hockey is not a thing in most places in Europe. But then that comes into play, you know. So when we talk to clients, we want to make sure they are comfortable with these changes. And what's most important, if they have families, we want to make sure that their spouses, their children, their parents even, because sometimes, you know, you leave your parents behind because they're elderly, and you want to make sure you can fly back easily. You want to make sure they can come.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I think even like the sports, and especially when you consider like children in the picture, I think that it makes it adds to the list of the things that you have to cover to make sure that you are providing the lifestyle that you want or that you are used to your kids. Because you mentioned it correctly, like even like education, like you can have. Like you can get, like I'm sure in Montenegro it's the same. You have like lots of like English-speaking college and schools and everything, so it's not an issue. But if you want to do homeschooling, I mean in Georgia you can. I think
for us here it's illegal, at least for the elementary school. We have a bit of a different system. We don't have the system where there is the primary, middle, high. For us, the elementary and middle are combined into 9 years of school, and then comes the high school. So it's illegal to actually do homeschooling, which can be an issue for some of the Western clients because they like the flexibility.
Yeah, I think like in Georgia too, like I was actually checking that a few weeks ago, and I said that like it's not illegal to do homeschooling, but it's so like I have never heard of anybody doing that. So if you want to do that, technically you can, but maybe the systems are not set in place where it's going to be easy for you to handle that. And you know, it sometimes happens like you go to a government body or like education, Ministry of Education, and they're like, you ask them, it's gonna like I want to do this, and they're like immediately say no because they have not heard of that thing. So you have to kind of jump through the hoops to make sure that they understand what you're saying. It's so new to them, even though it's not illegal or even though it's not like against the law or you can technically do that. So I think that we have a lot of people. I know I've met a couple of our clients that where they it's a priority for them to be able to do that, and I do understand why, especially when you're like the lifestyle that you have, moving around, or maybe having a couple of three flags in different countries. You don't necessarily, you cannot really coordinate school in one country. If you have a kid, like it's better to do homeschooling.
And there's no way one school will let you do a semester here and semester there.
True.
Yes,
True.
no, I agree on that. And you know, that is one thing that was quite interesting because especially when they're moving, and even if they're not moving, the culture is so different. Like you said, if you go to a government body here, it would be the same thing. If you actually ask them like, oh, can I homeschool my kid? They're gonna be like, what do you mean you want to homeschool your kid? What are your credentials? And then like high school is different. High school, it's not technically homeschooling, it's just not going to school and then just doing exams at the end of the year.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Like,
but for the elementary,
no.
no.
But you can. It's more flexible and
yes. But what we did find out with our clients, with some countries, of course, like it highly depends on where you actually are, is there are some schools that would be considered kind of like a mix. It's homeschooling and online school. So essentially there are some, let's say UK-based schools that are doing the online schooling. It just depends on, what's important is to check where the license is. So you have to check with the country they accept the actual credentials from this school. So then what happens is they actually share materials with you, and there are no like no tutoring sessions or anything like that. You get the books and then you just do exams. And then you get the diploma from this specific school. So I think that can be a very good compromise. I don't know if it was done here, to be honest, but I'm sure that it can be done.
Yeah, that's a very good like solution that maybe doesn't come like immediately when you think about it, but it can definitely be checked. And I do think that UK, like we have a couple of like the UK schools in Georgia even, so it's worth checking out. I think it's a possibility. That's a good thing. And the other question I recently, we had like the Nomad Capitalist Live, you know, we had a couple of very nice clients that we met over there, which is always appreciated to be able to meet in person. But I do remember one of them was talking about the healthcare, because Malaysia, the Prince Court has a very good checkup for a fixed price. We've done that. It was really nice. And I remember we were talking about like what are the other options, because healthcare is kind of important, especially for nomad people. And I don't know, like what is the scene like in Montenegro about that?
Well, I'll tell you it's different. I would say quality is high. If you are residing in Montenegro, if you have your residence permit, public healthcare is actually very good. It's just that it's sometimes difficult to get appointments. I'll tell you that. So that part is not as good. But I'll tell you, being from Montenegro, to me, it seemed like when I moved to the States, thinking about how much I paid for the health insurance, and then every time I go in, I have to pay more. So to me, that was completely like a new thing, you know, back when I was 18. But now I'm understanding it a bit better. So, you know, we have private health insurance here. That is for individuals, and usually if you have a job, if you have a company or something, those companies will go through these private health insurances and obtain a plan for you depending on what you want. But what I've seen is that they're very inexpensive. So when I tell a client, if you want to come here, what you can do is get private health insurance, and it's actually very easy. You essentially give them a call, they book you an appointment tomorrow, and everything is fine. And then the cost always comes up, right? Because what they're expecting is cost of
the same,
a lot. And then I tell them, well, you know, like for me personally, with like, of course, every plan is different because of what you have pre-existing. I tell them, well, I pay around like $80 per month for my insurance, and they're like, wait a minute. What do you mean? And it's like your medication is covered, your visits are covered, and of course there are plans that are more expensive, there are cheaper plans. Just depends on what your needs are. So I think that is a very positive aspect of being in a country like ours, because the system is completely different.
Yeah,
is it similar in Georgia?
It is similar. So we do have like a public insurance, but it's mostly for like children under 18 or like elderly. So for like general population, it's mostly your employment covers that. You have a private insurance, and it's the same with us. Like you can get like I pay probably monthly. I would pay like $30, $40, or maybe top. I cannot even think if you can get something for like 100. I don't think that it exists, even the best of the best. And maybe if you go as a private person and not through employment,
Yes.
you maybe pay a bit more. But compared to the prices that Western people are used to paying, it's like gonna be nothing, because with that you get coverage for like medicine, anything, and appointments, and even like big like surgeries and any kind of procedures that you need. It's mostly gonna be covered.
Unless they're elective, right? Same thing.
Yeah. You know, if you want to get a nose job, it's not going to be covered, but anything else.
That's going to be out of pocket.
Yeah.
Still cheaper than it would be in the West.
True. and the quality is also like, I do think that the quality is really good, and you get your like a personal, like health insurance assistant who you contact.
Yes.
And you tell them that I need this, and they give you the appointment, or they coordinate with the medical doctor or something. So it's really easy, I would say, like organized. You do have like, you know, Georgia is we're not very punctual, but we
Really?
are trying with the appointments and everything. So it's one of the things where you'd be surprised to be getting your doctor to be in at the specific time that you're supposed to be seeing them, which I find really interesting. But health, so we are trying to be serious about that, I guess.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is a huge difference that I experienced. Like you said, sometimes back in the day when I was a child, it didn't used to be appointment based. So you would just do the walk-in appointments, unless you
Sure.
really wanted to schedule something, then it would be. So when I was in States, they would make an appointment, and I would come in time, and I would get to see my doctor or practitioner about 2 hours later. So that's like, that was
Yeah,
a big
that's-
surprise to me. I'm like, why is my appointment at this time when I'm just seeing the person at this time? So that was a
Yeah.
bit different. Like you said, here, if you have an appointment, you're seeing directly who you need to see at the
Yeah.
right time.
Yeah, it's the same in Georgia, but I do think that sometimes, you know, you have like a doctor that's like so like well known and so good that you just they don't have availability like in a month or something.
Yes.
But other than that, I think that it's like well organized, and especially for a person who's like, we talked about like freelance work, so that necessarily wouldn't cover you with insurance, but you can go and privately get it.
Yes.
Get it, and still it's gonna be well enough. I've like, when I went for my medical checkup, I saw a lot of like foreigners, English-speaking people, getting their like something done. So it's very common for people to get private insurance, like as a physical person and not through a company even. So it makes sense and it works well. And I think that compared to the prices that people would expect, it's like really like nothing. And even the doctors, you get them to speak English, like not everybody. Like it's not going to be the same as in Malaysia, for sure. Prescourt was like
Malaysia is
yeah.
up there.
Yeah, it was a different experience, but compared to everything else, like just the general picture, I think that Georgia is like a good way to get your annual checkup or something, as long as you live there. Like if you want to really get the checkup, I would still go to Malaysia. I don't
Yes.
know.
Yes.
It was like how well organized and how
God, that was a very
yeah.
good experience.
Yeah, it was. And you don't expect that when you're going to a hospital.
And you don't expect a beautiful place to be a hospital.
Yeah.
It did not look like one. But yeah, I agree. But you mentioned one thing I did want to ask you about, because this is what I wonder. Like I have a lot of foreign friends coming in, and there's a lot of international people coming in to live here as well. It's become a trend over the past, let's say, 10 years, especially this part where we are in the seaside. So how was it when it comes to the communication when you arrived? Were people speaking, I mean, of course not fluent English, but were you
No,
able
yeah.
to get your way around?
Oh yeah, I think that everybody I met at the airport, like they spoke English, like I wouldn't say perfect, but at the same time it's their second or third or wherever number of languages. So as long as you can understand and they try to communicate with you, so it wasn't an issue. Even the like taxi drivers spoke English, very good English by the way, and customs too. We understood each other that I shouldn't have brought so many bottles of wine. So it was really
That was my fault, people.
yeah, it was really communication was like nice. I think everywhere, even we've been going around the city with like a couple of taxis and everything. I think that mostly everybody speaks English. No, maybe.
And did you find people to be, I mean, the customer service itself, let's say.
Oh,
How did you find that
I
to
think
be?
that people are very friendly in Tibet and in generally Montenegro is my understanding. I don't know, like I feel like when you come from the West, like, I've seen like when we have like people coming to Georgia, like they expect a more like prompt service, and maybe we are a bit laid back. I feel like it's the same here, no?
Yes.
But we compensate being like really friendly, and nobody's gonna be telling you like it's 2 hours later, like leave because you go to the restaurant and you can stay.
Right.
Yeah,
I think
it's
that's what drives it.
Yeah.
Like they think you're gonna stay there for 3 hours and talk to your friends and like
yeah, it's
just
like more
do the
relaxed.
long coffee. Yes.
Yeah, yes.
That's a big difference. Well, in the West, everything is pretty fast paced, and
True.
they're used to the fast service. Yeah, that could be something that is lacking here.
It's the same in Georgia.
It just depends on the perspective, I guess.
Yeah. Is it? But if you're moving to from west to the eastern Europe part, like to Montenegro or to Georgia or any other country around here, like you know that you're gonna be kind of maybe compromising on something, but at the same time you're getting maybe a more relaxed lifestyle, and we know that some people appreciate that. When you live in a big city and you like. Maybe not necessarily want to live that fast-paced life and spend so much time commuting or something. You come here and you have to have like you can get a relaxed lifestyle, but maybe you're gonna have to wait for your coffee. Or in Georgia's case, like you're not gonna be getting a lot of different types of coffees at 7 a.m. because we don't like to wake up early. As it turns out, like. The more I travel, the more I see the differences in like small nuances like that. You know, the client service, or even like when people actually start working. Like in Georgia, it's like 9 a.m., 10 a.m. But if you're a notary, you start working at 11 a.m., which is like so surprising. Yeah.
Well, actually, yes. Notaries here would actually have like a 2-hour span. They feel entitled, so it's like an 11 to 1 kind of day.
Yeah. It's
but
nice.
like in general, all government institutions here would actually start working at 7.
At 7, really?
Yes. 7,
Wow.
8 maximum is like the actual working time, which is weird because I'll tell you a secret. So every Balkan country does have its stereotype, you know. And these are like this, these are like this. Well, the stereotype about us is that we're lazy. So you will hear about Montenegrins waking up at noon and being like, oh, it's too early. Or you'll hear a joke where when you wake up, there's a chair next to the Montenegrin's bed. Why? Because they want to rest after they've been sleeping. But in fact, when you look at it,
if you guys start working
we
at
start
7
working
a.m.,
at 7 and 8, and it's like...
That's amazing, because we do like 9, and even like 9 to 6 usually, but then it's like, I don't know, like, you know, small steps, very like lazy pace with that, and even like private sector, like nobody starts working earlier than 9.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. If they start working at 7, that means they're drinking their coffee until 9 or 10. So.
True. But still, like they are there, which is already, the doors are open.
That is true. I guess. I mean, I love my country. It's a beautiful place. I came back to live here.
I see why.
Right. And clients are always very interested, you know, and. There are a few things, and I know that my clients who I work with usually love Georgia and the idea of Georgia, and I'm very supportive of that because there's so much over there that you can take advantage of. Yeah. And I would say the biggest difference, like lifestyle is quite similar. Of course, language is different, but I would say that when it comes to the taxes, which because I have to talk about it. It's important, is that Georgia has a bigger advantage because you guys have a lot of tax treaties, especially when we're talking in the West. The tax treaty can be so useful, and then your territorial tax regime, and we're actually worldwide, even though we're at a very low tax rate. So we're 15% for corporate capital gains, but it does make a difference.
Oh, it makes a huge difference, and I think that I would say it was very intentional. We because when you're a small country like Georgia and you don't have necessarily this beautiful seaside of this level, you do have to compromise and like make things attractive on some other aspects. And one of them was tax. And I think the fact that we are territorial is very attractive. Like it actually works in practice, which is sometimes not the case with the like different tax systems, because it's one thing that's written and then another, like what's the interpretation like of that, and how do the tax authorities usually handle that. And in Georgia, like it actually works. You have the territorial tax system. It means that your worldwide income is not taxed there, and you have lots of treaties, and it's very important, especially when you have to travel, and your work is like outside of Georgia, and you have like different countries. You just go through the list of tax treaties. Like we're not on the same level as, I would say, I don't know, U.S. and Ireland and countries, of course, but compared to the size of our economy, I think that have a lot of really good countries where you can get tax treaty benefits from, and even our local tax rates. I mean, it's like 15% on corporate income, like 20% withdrawal tax for personal income. We talked about 1%, so I'm not gonna repeat that. And like property tax, it's like anywhere between 0 to 1%, depending on where the property is. So it's like pretty close to nothing, I would say. So it's very attractive. And even the whole, if you have a company, we have what we call the Estonian model of payment. So it means that if you're reinvesting your profits, you're not going to pay tax. So unless you actually take out the dividend, you don't have to pay any tax on profit.
That's my favorite part about it.
Yeah, so
it's like if it stays in the company, there's nothing to pay essentially. So you're deferring it, and then of course all the expenses are tax free. So
yes, of course.
So it's a very good deal, especially for those who are doing business in one of these countries like US or Canada. And it has worked for a lot of our clients. So like you said, in practice it works, and that's what's most important, because sometimes you will hear all these things and it's like it doesn't really work.
It reads well, but it's not actually working.
Yes, the amount of misinformation online is incredible. Like you really have to be careful when you're either trusting people or at least even knowing what is the competent advice, because everything is one-sided, everything is about the specific place, so that becomes very important. So I agree. Yeah, in Montenegro there is quite a few advantages, like for female entrepreneurs there's a lot of tax deductions. There is a lot of a lot of things in place that are trying to improve the economy. But as you know, this country is essentially, its biggest perk is the tourism. Now what we have been trying to do is to expand that tourism more to the north and not only keep it in the south, because there's so much actually potential over there, and nobody really pays attention because look at this beauty. But and actually I'm very happy you're here at this time. Not a lot of people would agree with me, but in the summer it gets really crowded, so you can really see everything. But I'm glad the weather is good for us to do this.
Yeah, I appreciate it, because I know from you that it can get crowded, but this is right now like amazing. You don't expect November to be this nice and warm, so I appreciate that Tivat welcomed me like that.
We knew you were coming, that's why.
Yeah.
And one more thing, I know you Georgians are very, very proud of your wine.
Yeah. Yes.
And
guilty as charged.
And when I was in Georgia, of course, we tried a lot of different things, and I will agree. And but I know you tried Montenegrin wine as well, so we're big on that too. But we're more on the smaller local productions. So we do have one very big company that produces wine, and that's more for the actual distribution. But then you will find a lot of different smaller vineyards around the places, which I know you didn't get a chance to go to yet, but that is, like, I think one of the mutual things. A lot of Balkan cultures and Eastern European in general are big on their production of spirits.
You can call it spirits.
Yes. And besides wine here, we're very big on rakia, which you have tried.
Yes, I did. I
So,
had the pleasure. Yes.
How was that?
It was nice. I think, I appreciate wine a lot, and I do appreciate also how like that can be reflected. You said family wineries, and we have the same in Georgia. And I do think that on some level, you're losing some things if you go like big production.
Yes.
And with small family wineries, it's like they still maintain the like a family approach, like the same way that we do, like individual approach with their wine, the same way we do it with our clients, I think. And I do like the wine that I tried here. I like how you guys make it really dry. I appreciate that. I've said that. But yeah, it's definitely a couple of things that kind of gives you an understanding of, in my opinion, at the very least, it gives you an understanding of like how country is done. We talk about a lot of like tax, residency, etc., and like the general lifestyle and like how bureaucracy it is, or like do you have to jump through hoops to get something done. But at the same time, like daily things, like what's the food scene like? What's the like? Do you get to have like drinks somewhere? Because like if you move to Dubai, it's very expensive to get a glass of wine, and maybe that is something that's going to change you, like move you to a different direction. And when you're coming to Eastern European countries, as you said, the wine and the rakia, or like different types of rakia, depending on where you are, it's very like common and like
yes, every house will welcome you with a glass. That's like a big thing, and coffee as well. We're big on coffee, but I heard a comment that we have no flat white, so that might be something that some people might find a bit different. But yeah, I think there's a lot to find. It's definitely a gem. It's a place that's so stunning and so beautiful, where you will actually enjoy your walk, you will enjoy your day, you will find a lot of things to do. It just depends on what is it that you're used to, because sometimes just hearing about it, I mean, this place has been voted #1 as a destination with so many magazines, with so many different things, and only recently our food, like local cheese and different things, have been on the list of maybe 50 best things in the world. So there's a lot to see, a lot of nature, and I think the country itself is improving a lot, because we are bringing in different cuisines, different types of restaurants, because that was not really available as much back in the day. So
yeah, I think that's common with Georgia, and we see a lot of things that we have in common as we walk. I think that it's the same, because you have. And it's a very difficult balance to maintain, because you want to have like these new things. You want to make sure that you're like, especially for a country like Montenegro and Georgia, where we are so dependent on tourism, you have to make sure that you are like advertising worldwide and showing that you have like cheese or wine or different good foods or something like that. But at the same time, you're trying not to westernize it a lot.
Yes, keep the authenticity.
Authenticity. And I think that we are, I would say, maintaining it so far, but I do see some of the restaurants in Georgia, in Tbilisi, for example, where like if you want to, like, if I have you come over, I'm gonna not take you there, because it's like the food is amazing, don't get me wrong, but it's not that, if you think that that's Georgian,
it's not
gonna be Georgian, I would say.
It's like the Tex-Mex in Mexico.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a give and take, I guess, with the small economies a lot.
It's not what I really thought would happen, but it does seem like we're more similar than
yeah,
right.
Yeah,
there's so
surprisingly,
many things.
Yes, there are so many things that we have in common, which is nice, like all good things.
I mean, I knew Eastern European is kind of like a thing, but I didn't think Montenegro and Georgia, because we're a little bit far away, that it would still be similar. But I like it.
Yeah, me too. And thank you so much for showing me around. This was a really nice walk and tour.
No, thank you for coming, and thank you for your insight into your experience when it comes to Montenegro.
It was a good experience, and I hope that you guys also like to see the new things, and we wanted to just show you around and tell you what it's like to actually live the life in these Eastern European countries, and the lifestyle that you can get in Montenegro and Georgia.
We showed you a small piece of Tivat, but I'm sure if you visit, you're going to enjoy a lot more. But please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you in the next video.
Yes.
This is how to live like a king in Madrid.